Hello and welcome, everyone. I hope you can all hear me. Let's make sure. All right, so this is a very special edition of called Land Talks, where we're going to talk about everything related to the land sale we got going on and the airdrop and everything around that. Good morning, good evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. We really appreciate it. I am Tassel, the community lead here at My Neighbor Alice, and today I've got a real special guest. This is George Wong, the operating partner and residence at TGV. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here. I mean, the land sale announcement is big. I'm really happy to hear that a land sale is happening on my neighbor Alice. I don't know if you're excited as I am, but I'm really, really excited about it.
Oh, I'm stoked. It's been a long time, and we have a lot to discuss about about the land sale and stuff. So I'm real excited. And it's such a unique opportunity. So I can't wait to give a little bit more context and for to pick your brain too, because I know that you've been in the industry for quite a long time. Maybe we should start with a little bit about that. Maybe you can give us just a little bit of background on who you are.
Oh, yeah. Just for context, everyone, thanks for having me. And of course, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you anywhere around the world. And so, my name is George. I am from TGV. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, TGV is a investor in the Chromaway, which, of course, is the parent company for my neighbor Alice. And my role specifically has been to support the growth of many of its portfolio companies. And I've been working with the My Neighbor Alice team for the past few months. It's really exciting. I've always known about the project from the beginning. I've been in the blockchain space for 10 years, but I've been gaming for probably 35 years. If you think about it, since I started during black and white days. So gaming is a particular passion of mine. I really love how gaming brings people together. And I think that blockchain technology is an exciting tool that helps gaming. And I think this whole idea of having virtual land and ownership of these digital assets in the form of virtual land is very exciting. It's something that we've been talking about in gaming since 2017, to be very honest. For those of you who are not familiar with the use of blockchain technology in gaming, we've been talking about having NFTs. That time we were just calling it non-fungible tokens, not NFTs, and we were hoping that we could use it as a way for assets to be used in a variety of games. We've evolved a lot since then, but personally, I think we're still really just at the ground floor and we're still moving up the floors in terms of what the technology can do for gaming. So I'm excited to see more of these kind of assets go out into the market.
I agree. Yeah, and I couldn't have said it better myself. It's interesting because, like you said, it's a good tool, and I completely agree with that. Um, it's pioneering, right? Because everything that you do in a traditional like Web two game is so different when you do it in a Web three game. But at the same time, what you get from it, the experience has to be great. So I'm just real excited about it as well. So. Um, like you say, you've been in the industry for a long time. I guess my question to you would be like, how do people see, land in this industry?
Well, I think virtual land is a very interesting kind of use case for NFT technology and in gaming. Because if you look at it, every game has a monetization strategy, for example, right? And by allowing the community to own land is a form of co-ownership with the community, right? Because the land environments, the space, the game space is being shared with the community, and the community has full control over it, which is very different than, let's say, traditional Web 2 games. For example, if you are able to buy housing in an MMORPG, you are actually buying an instance where like 100,000 players are like layered on the same instance, and you're just customizing it. It's all software, and there's no real like footprint that you technically own and people need to cross. You're just sharing it. That's how traditional games do it. By using land in gaming, you actually pass out a space that is tangibly yours in the space. And I know tangible and digital don't seem to make sense to some people, but if you do play games, that form of ownership of a space in a game is actually very valuable. It's difficult for a game to not only provide you that space, they have to accommodate the access to the space, the interlinks between all the other lands and the spaces together as well. And that provides a new dimension. I think it's still, I would say it's still pretty early. And I know a lot of people think in blockchain it's late, but in gaming, it's still pretty early. This whole idea of allowing users to own that kind of virtual space, right? And
Yeah,
people spend a lot of money on these things. I'm not saying that we want to monetize a lot of money from people for the spaces. I think my neighbor Alice wants to give people a good space for them to own and to build what they want to build. But I think that it's still early, which is why, although whatever the market may think, every time I see a land sale, it indicates a few things. One is that the game's growing, which excites me because that means there's still vision, there's growth, there's energy. And two, it's a new kind of space that I can own in a game that I truly enjoy, right? And I think that to me is what the market doesn't necessarily see right now because they're being distracted by perhaps unfortunately many poor use cases in blockchain. And over the past few years blockchain games have struggled, some of them have struggled, that is true, but that's also symptomatic of an industry that's developing, right? It's not
sure.
easy to introduce a new concept for people to own, right? So I think that's
Yeah.
one of the things that I feel the market's there right now, but I do hope that at least the my neighbor Alice community understands the value. It doesn't matter what the public says. You need to know what's the value to you. I think that's key,
Sure.
right? In terms of gaming,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
And
definitely. I mean, okay.
sorry, go ahead, please.
No, I was just going to say I completely agree. I mean, you do have to know what the value is, and that's kind of one of the the things that we're discussing here too with my neighbor Alice. That's why this land sale right now is so important, and coming at such a deliberate time because the game has matured into a way, and you can tell that it's kind of the fact that it's that my neighbor Alice is here when so many have failed is telling all in itself. Because we do have a real product that we offer to people, something that they can use. Sure, you can buy a land and bridge it back to the Binance Smart Chain and do whatever you want with it, but its real utility is in the use as in the game. Like that's where it's actually the most useful. And there's so many things tied to that. So yeah, I couldn't agree more.
I mean, you've talked a bit about it. I mean, you're probably deeper in terms of gameplay than I am. Maybe you could share with us, like, I think recently they've introduced the cooking feature. Now, personally, I was excited about cooking feature. I have played the game, but cooking is something that I enjoy doing in any game. I tend to overdo
Mhm.
it, and I don't know why. It's like an addiction, right? I can't cook well in real life, so I do it in games. You know? And but maybe you want to highlight a little bit about like the different features that has been introduced, like cooking, and what do you see the overall value for just My Neighbor Alice, right? Because I looked at it quite generally, but your thoughts on My Neighbor Alice land is also pretty interesting. Let me know your
Yeah,
thoughts.
no, I'd be happy to talk about that. Cooking is one of our absolute newest features. It's something that it just got added to my neighbor Alice, so it's something that's still in development. Like it's there, we have it out to for people to use, and it's great. So there's a chopping board where you can refine like raw ingredients, so the carrots and the wheat and the different things that you grow on your land or that you buy off of the market or however you attain it, right? There's a bunch of different ways. That's kind of one of the things that makes my neighbor great is if you're short on something, you could just get it from a neighbor. But and then you have the actual cooking station. And I think the art team just knocked it out of the park with it too. I think that it's absolutely lovely. The sounds and the way that it's used in the game. I think that there's over 100 recipes, and they all have different items that you could create, right? Different things. I'm kind of like you in the fact that I can't really cook in real life, so I compensate. I do it in game, and um, and the items they restore what's called Moxie. I don't know if you've explored the Moxie system at all, but Moxie is basically what you use in the game to level up. So every action that you do in the game, it requires a Moxie, and that Moxie is converted into experience. Get enough experience, obviously, you level up. You can still do all of the same actions without Moxie, but then you're not actually gaining experience, so you'll be static. You won't actually go anywhere. There's no actual difference at the moment between like from one land to another. So like you don't get different recipes for Tinsel Falls and Gloomy Gulch. Oh, that's an interesting idea. But the recipes that people are making is completely dependent on what they're crafting, like what they're gardening. So if they're doing pumpkins and edamame and stuff like that, obviously those ingredients are only used in certain cooking dishes. So what people are creating is very different. I see them on the market all the time, where people are offering different cakes and gelatos and different things like that. So yeah, I'm in love with the new cooking system. I think that they absolutely did an amazing job, and a lot more is in development for that. So
I do like what you shared about, because what you explained is essentially a gameplay loop, right? And I think many
mm,
Web3 games kind of, okay, I don't want to, I'm not kind of stepping on anyone's toes, but I think generally most Web3 games don't understand gameplay loop, right? And gameplay loops are very different depending on the genre of game. And in this case, which My Neighbor Alice is obviously a cozy game style. For those of you who are not familiar with cozy gaming, it's less about competition and more about relaxation. I guess that's how I would define it, right? But you
yeah,
play the game, you get resources, you build out your space, you cook, you fish, etc. All that resource gathering is something that you kind of do, kind of like a repetitive, stress-free environment, right? Because you play
agreed.
how you want to play. I think that's a and that kind of concept of gameplay loop is very, very important, because a lot of games tend to not understand gameplay loop, and that's why they lose their audience, because there's no reason to keep playing the same game tomorrow, right? So a good gameplay
Yeah,
loop is inherently useful for that. And one of the things that I think, like you touched on just now, is that if land later on can be, for, let's say, like different resources that you might need, or or different recipes on land, might be an interesting idea. Maybe the community should let us know, like, if that's something you really want, to kind of give that variety, because obviously when you develop a game, you want to keep things fair for everyone, right? So everyone has equal opportunity, but having that segregation of resource, or crafting materials or recipes, for example, for cooking, might be interesting as well. I think that's something to look at when it comes to land ownership. But I wanted to throw another question to you, because
sure.
I remember you told me a while, like in our first call, how you experienced it, right? Where I think it's a unique value proposition of the land that is owned by My Neighbor Alice community, which is you were actually experiencing the game with your family. You were sharing and building on the same plot of land together. I personally loved that. Like when you told me, I immediately say, "Oh, I've never thought about it." You remember? I said
Yeah,
that, right? Like you
yeah.
were doing it with your wife, your kids, and you can build on the same land. Now that is actually not something common in games, let alone Web3 games, right? The
Yeah.
ability for you to not just own your own space, but to share with loved ones, build it, uh, you know, farm resources from it, and actually kind of experience it together like a community kind of bond, right? So for me, I was thinking about, like university clubs or social clubs building a space together. But what really caught your eye, and what's the experience like building together with like your family on the plot of land that you own?
It's kind of amazing, right? So like me and my wife will share land all the time, and so she'll might edit like a section of my land that she wants to fit like what she wants. My youngest loves the fishing aspect of it. Like she doesn't care about the building at all. But that's kind of an interesting point too, right? There's different people have different reasons to, or different stress reliefs, or different just the whole idea of why they're playing is different from one person to the next. So I've seen people create lands where it's been like almost like a vendor or a market like land, where they have their flea market on the land, and everything is about selling the resources that they've gathered, and that's what they like to do. They like to collect resources and sell. For me, that's not for me. I like building. I like creating these huge castle type structures, and these mazes, and you mentioned touched on a little earlier too about that it's a cozy kind of relaxing, and you're right, that's exactly what My Neighbor Alice said. That's what the what we go for. But it's funny how the community can take that in a different direction too, because of the landscaping feature, and because we do have trampolines and the glider and different aspects of the game where you can do it. There's you don't have to play that way. People are creating huge, 3 and 4 plot long parkour courses, and then they just end up getting used in game night. So, and and going towards back to sharing the land, you can share with up to 10 people. So it's pretty amazing. Like you can there's like and for people who maybe they want more Bjorn, if you're sharing it with 10 people, they can extract that Bjorn or mint it from the land that they own, and then they can pool that together to buy a resource that maybe is too expensive for them singly. So there's just so many different ways in which you can use these lands, and that's something you can only do, by the way, with a land that you own, not a trial land. A trial land is something that we're letting you use. So obviously you can't let somebody else use that. Yeah, it's just there's so much utility.
Well, I think we'll touch on trial lands a little bit, but I was just imagining, and I think this is an important point as well, that when it comes to your the ownership of your own land, not only are you able to build whatever you like, you are also able to own it to perpetuity, right? And you control, you dictate because you own it. It's not on trial. I was imagining that someone would be creative enough to make like a Dungeons and Dragons map where your friends can join in and play, and the game master sits at the very top of a tower looking down while the game happens. I'm just
Oh,
imagining. Sounds fun though, right?
yeah, I would absolutely love that. We have what's called a land plaza, and you can choose exactly where the person spawns into your land. So I can imagine that you could really make it, because if you choose exactly where they start too, you kind of control the narrative of where they would go through this land. So yeah, I can totally follow that imagination, that thought process.
I think one of the things that really attracted me to building in my neighbor Alice, I think if you're a builder kind of person, is the fact that you can play it on your browser. So you can log in on almost any device, even potentially even mobile devices in future because of WebGPU. For those of you who are unfamiliar, WebGPU is the technology that allows your browser to use your graphics card to run a game, right, on the browser, which a lot of people don't know. But it's still new in mobile devices. But not only that, it allows you to build within the game. Now, an in-game builder to me is huge because if you want to build your own experiences, not everyone is familiar with coding or they want to use another platform. It's easier for most people to just jump into the game and start building in the space, right? And I think that's really an advantage of land ownership for my neighbor Alice users, because you don't have to worry about not being able to build something or craft something on your own space. It's done inside the game. There's no complex rules to do it, and I think there are guides that teaches you. But in your case, you've been building castles, right? And
Yeah.
how long does that take for you to build a castle?
Well, I mean, it really depends on how big a castle. So I've had it where you have like a 2 by 2 plot. You can actually build across the like adjacent lands. So you can make these monolithic, like huge creations, or you can have it just within your 100 by 100 plot. And in which case you're kind of limited to that space that you have. All plots are 100 by 100 tiles.
Do you have a
Um,
height limit? Like, can
there
you?
is a height limit, but it's really high. And then if you have like trampolines on top of that, you can bounce even higher. It's really really high.
It sounds like an opportunity to build only up on one space. I don't know if you've played only up, right?
I haven't.
It's the platformer that keep going up with obstacles, and and the whole goal is to reach the top, right? If you have a very high limit or limitless height, I think that's going to
Yeah,
be pretty interesting for people who
I
love
played.
parkour type of games. I remember you like parkour type of games, right?
Oh, I love parkour. I mean, I love every type of game. That's my downfall is I love first person shooters and RTSs, and I've played MMO. I've played it all, but I absolutely love platformers. Like what you're talking about, Only Up reminds me of what I was playing in the '80s called Ice Climbers. You want to keep going up,
Mhm.
up, up.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think because I've been working a lot with UGC creators, and I've been asking for only up in these kind of games for a long time. So maybe for those of you who are watching, if you are super keen on building, it could be a challenge, right? The challenge of the month is to build an only up style game within your space. I don't know if the physics allows it, but that will be pretty
well, the
interesting.
physics wouldn't allow you to go. There is a cap, so that you can only go. But I'd be really interested to see who could get to the very highest point, because we do have some kind of super jump mechanics on a couple of the items where they can. Where so if you built all the way up to the top, and then that would be my curiosity to see how high you could get.
That's that. Well, I hope that challenge happens. But let's talk a bit something more practical. I think we have a lot of new people in the space as well, and I've obviously been following the project from the beginning. Of course, it's a lot of development has happened, and I think unlike myself, I think you've been there from inception, right? Which is why you're such a big part of the community as well. Maybe you want to share a little bit about your experience, like what has the developments been like? For me, I had a
Sure.
big gap, right? I was looking at the game when it launched, and at that time it was still early. And fast forward a couple of years later, I jumped back in recently, and I was amazed at how much has changed. But like progressively, what's been the development like? How much work has my neighbor Alice put in over the past couple of years?
I mean, it's unbelievable amount of work. I can't even like a Herculean effort. When I before I was ever part of the team, when I saw it was an idea, and that was like pre-alpha. I purchased the land on the idea of the game because I thought it was I really liked the direction and the dream. And I remember I can't remember if it was pre-alpha season one or alpha season one, but basically the only thing that you could do was fish, and that was like the first graphical joining of the game. And then I've been through with My Neighbor Alice in some capacity from every iteration of alpha and beta. And honestly, the amount of that's one of the things that got me so excited was just how much work and how much love and dedication I can tell has gone into this game. My Neighbor Alice is every single new version that's come out has been. I mean, it's like anything, right? It's pioneering, so it definitely has its bugs and things that we work out as we go along, like any good development will. But every time you can tell that there's been a lot of work put into it. So we from fishing to the first introduction of farming, and then finally into landscaping. I remember landscaping where every single whenever you wanted to change your vertical aspect of the game, and you're building up your terrain, every single click was raising it up, and players would come in and give suggestions on Discord and say, hey, this is what we want. And the team would say, okay, well, let's figure out how to make it happen. And then now you can make stairs with one click and whole wall sections. A castle now, I mean, it takes you to put the core of it up, just to put the structure. It takes you minutes, when before it would take hours to do. And it's really gratifying seeing it go from kind of this remedial idea into a more polished idea, into a more that you can see the trajectory of the game. And that's, for me, that's probably been the most exciting part.
Well, I think that's what's unique about Web3 games. I just want to draw parallels with the industry, right? So in
Sure.
oftentimes when it comes to like what we call traditional games, I don't like that term because gaming is still
Yeah.
very forward, right? If you think about it. But oftentimes with games, you typically hear an announcement, and then either it goes live immediately because it's version one, or they will go into a closed beta, and then you only see the game in beta and then in the full version. That's
Yeah.
traditional game development, and that's for something that takes 5 to 7 years to develop, right? We're talking about AAA
Yep.
game, whereas in terms of Web3, the unique aspect of it, and sometimes I feel communities may not necessarily give games a chance, is the fact that you get in at the alpha stage, and the game has to be playable and progressively improved and playable from the alpha to the beta. And so sometimes Web3 games get judged very unfairly, right? But it also allows the community to see the progression from, just like you mentioned, just fishing, and then adding like features just to improve building, and the community can give feedback to help it to grow. So that's all a labor of love and pain, because honestly speaking, there's always going to be people who hate, right?
Of
Despite the
course.
work. But also to share that that's really what's unique about, Web3 games are like the whole ethos of being decentralized and being open and being transparent. Even the whole
Yeah.
development is being transparent. So I can share that, to be honest, one of the major blockers for many games in Web3, for those who are passionate and still building, is feature creep. Because every time the community asks for more features, they delay the version one because they keep trying to accommodate features that the community wants. And then they keep adding features along the way. Almost no Web3 game in its version one is exactly or even close to what initially it was envisioned, because Web3 games want to build with the community, right? So I think
Yeah.
that's also a very strong like feedback. And I think that's also one of the motivations for Trial Land, right? So maybe you want to share a bit about what Trial Land is for some of them who are new. Maybe they've just joined this for the first time, and also, what's the point, or why did you even introduce Trial Lands?
Of course. Yeah, I mean trial lands are exactly that. They're a trial there so that you can experience the game in some form. And we want to everyone to be able to experience and enjoy the game, and see the beautiful creation. Every biome that we have is very unique in terms of the way that it looks. And I think that this gets you kind of like you get to dip your toe in, you get to see what's going on. But then, of course, it's a trial land. Eventually, it will go back to my neighbor Alice because we're just loaning it to you so that you can check it out. And as the game develops more and we sell more, and we're selling more land, and we're doing that type of direction, obviously that becomes more phased out. So I think the whole idea of trial land is fantastic because it allows people to experience it. Because like if you're into a hardcore first person shooter and that's all you like, you're not going to like My Neighbor Alice. It's not going to be what your direction that you want to go in. But that's not necessarily who we're aiming for anyway. It's a cozy game where you can relax. I see whole huge communities popping up, and people are spending hundreds of hours in there, even on their trial lands. Spending all this time. Well, if you're going to spend hundreds of hours, you might want to consider buying an actual land, because if you're one that land's going to end up going back, and then all of the landscaping you did is going to go away with it and stuff. So I think that the idea of trial land is fantastic, and I'm so glad that we offer this so that people can enjoy it. And I don't know the time frame for the how long trial lands are, so I'm not saying it's going away immediately or anything. I don't want anyone to get the wrong impression. But what I do think is that you should understand that it is a trial. You are getting, we're sharing it with you, so it does come with a couple limitations. For instance, you can't share it with other people because we're sharing it with you. And there, because of that limitation, you can't extract Bjorn from 10 people, can't extract Bjorn from it. You can't share it within co-build with other people. Or, they're fantastic. It's a fantastic introduction, but that's what it is.
Well, I wanted to touch on that. Thanks for
Sure.
bringing your points up, because I want to draw parallels with like free to play games, right? So
Hmm.
typically right now there's a lot of business models when it comes to gaming. It's either you go for an upfront payment, and then a subscription model, or if, it's free to play, etc. But what's the point of free to play? The whole point of free to play is to allow you to have as much of a good experience of a game, before you decide, to be very honest, to invest into it. Either you invest into cosmetics or a subscription. At the end of the day, free to play games aren't actually free. Of course, there are many people who try to play it 100% free, but every game studio needs, revenue in order to keep building and giving more content, right? So it's fair. But free to play
Sure.
gives people accessibility, and in Web3 games, that's always been a challenge, right? It's always been a challenge that unless you are like a landowner, in the case it's a metaverse game, or you can go in as a player maybe to experience someone else's land, but you can't get the full experience. So Trial Land, to me, when I first encountered it, was surprising in a good way, because it allowed me to have a full experience of the game, and there were no limitations. And frankly, your trials are really long. I mean, I still have it. It's been months.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Typically, trials in traditional games are 7 days, 3 days, maybe 2 weeks, at most a month, right? And that's generous. But for My Neighbor Alice to provide trial lands that way, it's really a way for people to kind of benefit from the like a free to play environment, get the full experience, but at the same time, allow you to decide over months whether or not you want to actually own a land, which I think is very admirable for Web3 game, to put in that extra mile to give people that
Yeah.
experience. And one thing I do want to highlight to the community is that most free to play games, in order to make money from free to play, essentially not free, is usually introducing very predatory mechanics. So Web3 has a bit of a unique positioning, because it allows you to, instead of introduce predatory mechanics and make you spend more money than you actually wanted to spend, it allows you to co-own the virtual space together in the form of land sale, right? So if you look at the numbers over time, especially if, let's say, you were on a trial land for like 6 months, and then you purchase the land, the price of the land would be way lower than paying, let's say, predatory subscriptions and so forth. Or they could have like 7 or 10 different type of very predatory mechanics, right? Right. I'm not saying subscriptions are bad. I'm saying that certain subscriptions are really good, and I think that those are a good model because it gives accessibility to people. But we're talking about predominantly predatory mechanics, right? And I think
Sure.
Web3 tries to be transparent, have land, and that's why I think the whole trial combination and land ownership is a much more fairer model, right? Compared to saying, having hidden costs just to do a certain thing in the game, which I think is a big challenge for many traditional games. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that? I mean, for your own
Well,
experience as a landowner and also playing with trial lands.
oh, of course. Well, I mean, first off, I mean, what we like to what the one of the reasons that you get the land for so long too, at least in my opinion, is because these are people building real relationships with other people. These are communities forming, and in a cozy game, we need to give people enough time to build those relationships, to be around the other people that are similar. I've seen people spend hours and hours just getting on and chatting. Sometimes that's all you want to do. You want to get on, you want to fish, and you want to talk with a couple for a couple of hours with with a buddy online. Sometimes I like to not talk at all. I just want to play with my wife and my kids and to build some cool stuff together. And I think that is one of the reasons. I just wanted to touch a little bit on why we give such long trials. It's because in a game like My Neighbor Alice, where you're building genuine, relationship, a game is not a game. It's not going to be a successful game if it's not like fun and if you don't have an attachment to it. And that's what it's building. It's building that attachment. We want you to have an attachment. We are really proud of what we built, and we love, the community. This is some of the least toxic community I've ever been part of, and I've been in a lot of communities throughout the years. I've been gaming since the '80s, believe me. And I just that's kind of I just wanted to hit on the reason why we give out the trials for so long, because it's really important to us that people do get to enjoy their neighbor, and they get to meet up with people, and that they can have those experiences together.
Well, I think that was one of my first impressions of the game after coming back to it years later and I think that was the first feedback I gave to the team, was that, oh, there was vibrant conversation within the game, and it was talking about gameplay. And believe it or not, in Web3, that is not usually the primary narrative for conversations that's happening either in Telegram or in Discord or even in the game itself, right? Obviously, people get distracted by the shiny things in Web3. But when it comes to a game, and if you see people talking about, how can I get this resource, or how do I do this, because they're really trying to play the game, and then the community is helping them, or, giving them answers, I think that is good signs of a game that is bound for greatness, right, in the long run. But obviously, My Neighbor Alice hasn't reached version 1 yet. I think it's still, I would say, probably beta, mid late beta. I don't know what stage it's at or what it's classified, but it's not yet there. But so I think there's also room for lots of improvement, and also for community feedback. But yeah,
Oh,
I think
definitely a
community
lot of
is
room
key.
for community feedback. Yeah, I mean that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on is community feedback too. Before I was part of the team, I just a quick little detour here. I found a barrel glitch where I could actually rise up to a higher part of the land, and I created a whole course around it. I thought it was really cool. I was like, this might be a glitch technically, but this is a really cool mechanic. And I made these traps where if the barrel was turned in the wrong direction, it dropped you back down, and they had to work their way all the way back up to the top. I was really proud of it. It took me many hours, because this is with the oldest version of the landscaping. And when we moved into the next version before I was part of the team, of course they fixed that glitch, because but then they put in the tassels trampoline. It was a very heartwarming moment for me, because it was one of these things where I didn't even have to. I've made a lot of suggestions before I was ever part of the team, and some of those made it in, some of them didn't, like you would expect. But I didn't even ask for that one to be put into the game, so it was really nice getting to see this like homage to this thing that I created. So that's another amazing thing about this, this space, is that you do have a voice. If you make a suggestion on a Blizzard forum, good luck getting that in. But what you say here actually has value. We will at the very least look at the idea. So yeah, I completely agree on that point.
Well, since we've been talking a bit about land, and of course, this is the whole topic for the day, maybe you want to share also a little bit about this new, like, what release in this land sale. From my
Sure.
understanding, these regions have been accessible on the trial. Is that
Mhm.
correct?
Yes,
Right?
that's right.
Which I think is interesting because that is also something that doesn't happen often. The allow you to gain access to a space before you decide whether or not you want to purchase it. So how do you pronounce it though? Luma Lunda. Help me out here.
Yeah, Lunalunda, the Archipelago, and then the two new areas that are available. The one of them is called Gloomy Gulch, and the other one is Tinsel Falls, and they could not be more opposite in their vibe. So Gloomy Gulch is a very dark and ominous. I'd say that it's, how would I describe it? It's in perpetual dusk. It's really, I think it's beautiful in its in a dark way. Everything contrasts really well, and My Neighbor Alice has some amazing like glowing items in the game that really kind of highlight that area, in my opinion. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. Not everyone wants to have that type of vibe, but I really like it. We have a flower called a Liblossom, and when it's fully grown, it's like this bright yellow glow, and it just looks absolutely gorgeous in that land. So anyway, that's Gloomy Gulch, and the other one is Tinsel Falls, and this is all snow themed. So it couldn't be more opposite. It's very bright and snow, and it's looked like it's, if you zoom out, it's got like the snow and like the blizzardy effect. It's even got unique textures. So if you use the go into the landscaping mode and you click on textures, you can create ice paths and snowy areas. It's like the one of the only areas that has its own unique textures too, because we wanted to offer some more features to the game. So just more utility, more things that actually matter to players.
Wow, I sound like a snow guy, but we'll see. I'm gonna check it out later as well because we just announced the public sale yesterday, right? And I think that the last time my neighbor Alice had a land sale was like when? Do you remember?
I
When was
think
the
it was
last?
2023. It's been years, several years now since we've had an official land sale. Yeah, and honestly, this was very deliberate in the time too. Just to put that out there, we wanted the game to be in a matured enough place where it's went through these multiple iterations, where we've had these the other lands available for quite some time, and we wanted to reward the OGs and the super neighbors that have been around for the longest by giving them new things to play with, new tools. And yeah, we're very excited about the new lands.
Well, I was impressed that the land sale was in 2023, and that's a long time, which means
Mm.
that the team has been building and building and building for years without expecting much from the community. And finally, with a new region being made available, it opens up the door for more communities to come in. So I think it's an amazing time because just if you think about it, 2023 and today, it's what, 3 4 years, and that's
Yeah,
a long time, right, to not have a land sale and build for the community. So I really hope the community jumps on, and takes part in this new space, mainly to build up your own experiences, your own games. And I think that's a fun time. I'm probably gonna see if I can convince my future wife to play with me. I'm not sure if she's into much gaming, but I like the idea of like building with the family, right? I think
appeal to the
that's
aesthetics. Appeal to the aesthetics. If you, that's how I got my wife into it. I showed her all the games. She's like, "Oh, that's pretty. I like it." And then I showed her.
well, she will like a lot of aesthetics, and that means I have to get like one of each.
Oh, that's great.
Someone will steal my PC to play. Someone mentioned probably I'll have to buy her a PC, just to, But I think that that the whole building with family and friends, I'm excited to try that because cozy gaming is not something that most people would typically associate with males playing. But personally, for myself, having spent I think about 300 hours on Animal Crossing previously, I realized that anyone who plays, like cozy games, you play it differently. Like you mentioned earlier, right? Everyone's got a different thing. I'm the completionist type. I like to collect everything or
Me
complete
too.
every quest. That's my main thing. I'm a terrible builder, but I wanna have like every resource and build everything that I can, and then just keep it shiny. But think that that's something exciting. So for those of you who have yet to own a land, or you've been on a trial land for a very long time, this is one of the very rare opportunities where you can not only get yourself a co-own a space with the My Neighbor Alice team in this world that they're building, but also to kind of thank them for the last 3-4 years of building. That's the part I was really impressed. I mean, from a business point of view, that's commitment. I know maybe there are some people who have complaints, but you can't deny commitment like that, right? And I think that
Right.
do
I
support the
completely.
team. This land sale is really important milestone. It's been a long time coming, and I'm looking so excited for it. How vibrant it's going to be as you introduce new community members, and also if you're a community member, you have to make sure to help new community members come in, right? Don't leave them hanging. There's going to be questions. Don't leave Tassel to do everything by himself. He works hard, but he's one guy, right? But Tassel, maybe you want to like show, like, for those of you who don't know where to look for this new land sale, maybe you want to quickly show them where they can
Yeah,
find it.
I'd be happy to. Let me just go ahead and share a screen here. But what you want to go to is myneighboralice.com, of course. And then let me see if I can have this to see just really quickly. Just a moment here. Here, we'll just do it like this. Can you guys hear me now? Um, can you guys hear George? I just want to make sure.
Yeah,
I'm not
I hear
sure.
you. Not sure about the rest in the chat. If you guys can hear us, please put it in the chat or you can see us. It's back. Yeah.
It's
Uh,
back now. Okay, fantastic.
yeah. I
Maybe it's
think we
because I
leave
was.
it in this set. Yeah, leave it in this set because I think they took us off
I'll
stage
leave
when
it
you
like
did
this.
share.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry. I guess when I share it just full screen, it doesn't work. But anyway, you go to the market. Land and water have different qualities. Just give a real quick idea here. So, like for instance, land, the actual soil quality. The higher the quality of your soil, the more likely you'll get a fertile square when you're using the hoe tool. So in the game, we have farming. When you farm a specific square, you will if you have like, so there's a good quality land, excellent, and legendary, and the higher quality land, the more chances you are every time you use the hoe tool that you'll get a fertile square. And a fertile square means that when you plant on that square and you actually harvest the plant at the end, you'll get more yield. But anyway, you go here to the website. You can purchase the land off. You just click on the land that you want. You'll see that it'll pop up, and then you can click on the Buy Now button, and it'll go into your wallet. And just be aware that this is on the Binance Smart Chain, so you will actually have to go to your account afterward. You might notice in the bottom right hand corner here that says Sign In. When you it won't say this when you buy a land. You'll already be signed in, and it'll go into your account. And then what you want to do is you want to bridge this onto Chromia, at which point it'll be on the game, and then you can use the game however you want to. Sorry about the audio cutouts, guys.
Yeah. Well, to summarize for everyone, you can check it out at the My Neighbor Alice website. Go to the marketplace, pick out the land because each land has different values, and from there pick it out, pick what you like, purchase it, and then make sure to join us on the game day. I think Tassel's gonna have a very fun game day on the 13th, if I'm not mistaken. Tassel,
Yes,
that's
it
right.
is. It's at the 13th at noon CET. I believe. I'll definitely get it out there. I
Yeah.
know it's 10 AEST here in Australia.
Right. Yeah. So it's at noon CET for those of you who wants to know. I think Tassel, you're gonna go through some of the basics, logging in, playing the game, and also play together, right? I think that's the whole fun of it. Um, and yeah,
Definitely.
make sure to come back to the same space. Obviously, you're either watching this on X and YouTube, if I'm not mistaken, and you would be able to join in on the game night or day, depending on where you are, and kind of learn, especially if you bought a new land and you want to figure out how to use it. I think that's the perfect time for it, right? And yeah,
Definitely.
I'm really excited. I hope I can make it as well, but I'll definitely get more land before then to make time for me to kind of. I've been building out a trial land, and I gotta stop. So I want to build out my so I think that's where I'll probably join as well. Make sure you guys joined, and of course I see some people welcoming in advance any new neighbors. I think it's a perfect chance for you to get yourself a plot of land in this region. For those of you who still thinking about it, you can probably get a trial land, check it out, and then buy it as well if you're still on the fence. And that's something that only My Neighbor Alice provides, and probably no other game I know of in Web3 does that, right? And yeah, I think we've come to 45 minutes. I think it's close to the end of the stream. Maybe I'll share a few words and then I'll let Tassel close. Is that okay? I
Please.
apologize that I look like I'm hijacking, but we both decided that it's a two-way conversation, right? Because he's the expert
Definitely.
and I'm helping on the business side, and I'm really bullish about the potential of the game. And for a closing remark, I think first I just want to put a few points in everyone's head. First is that you should definitely check out the new land sale because it is a huge milestone for My Neighbor Alice. It's been almost 4 years in the making. They've been developing for the longest time. It's one of the most hardworking teams I have worked with, and I've worked with more than 50 companies myself, right? And half of them in an advisory capacity. So I can tell you when they're a committed team, I'm not making it up, right? And I think that getting a plot of land not only gives you a lot of fun, not only gives you co-ownership of the game space that you are sharing with the team, but also supports the hard work they have put in. And they've been very conservative on this. It's almost shocking, right? In terms of like the land sale. So it's one of the rare few times. Have fun, jump into this new space, cook, especially if you're like me who can't cook in real life. And I look forward to see you in My Neighbor Alice. Over to you, Tassel.
All right. Thanks a bunch, George. I really appreciate that. I just want to say thank you guys all so much for joining. I want to just mirror what you said, George, that this is a fantastic time to get a land. We've worked incredibly hard, and this is such beautiful. Not only is it beautiful, but the utility that you get for having the land is amazing. And I think there's no better time to actually join in and show the just what you can do. I mean, I've seen some unbelievable builds, and if you're up to rising to the challenge and seeing what you can do, I saw someone actually landscape in a QR code into their land, and that they used with their phone.
Wow.
There's the incredible creativity of this community is just it's unbelievable. So I really hope that you guys take advantage of this time and join us because we'd absolutely love to have you. Thanks so much for joining.
Oh, wait, before you go, maybe you want to
Please.
give them some bullet points on the airdrops.
Oh yeah, so the airdrop right now we have the New Year's airdrop where we are competing for the community is competing for $100,000 split up. There is we are definitely leaning into uh, rewarding the people that are purchasing lands from us right now because we are just very excited to be able to offer these. So we figure if you're helping us, we should help you. So obviously you get a bunch of points for that. And yeah, it's a real exciting opportunity. There's a bunch of tasks we have social tasks, we have in-game tasks of crafting and cooking, and yeah, this you should join us because it's a great time to recoup a little bit of your time and your land. I can't wait to actually see you guys in there.
Well, I guess with enough effort from socials or rewarding people for supporting the project or even just playing, you potentially could own, and earn your own land, right? If you rank high on the
Yeah.
leaderboard. Right? Of course, for those of you who are purchasing land, I believe you get a boost on the leaderboards as well. But it doesn't mean you don't have to play, right? It's not the end. You got to play on the land in order to maximize your time on the leaderboard. Okay. So and with that, I guess it's time to wrap up. Thank you so much from myself. Appreciate everyone's time, and Tassel, thanks for having me. It's been great, and I hope to jump on with you again in another call.
Definitely, you're an absolute wealth of knowledge, and it was lovely getting to actually chat with you and go over all this information. I really hope we get to do this again soon.
Take care, everyone. See
Yeah,
ya.
everybody.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.